Yo, what's up? We're back. Been a little over a week, I think, since I last recorded one of these. My name is Evan Altman. You're here on Inside Corner, which I assume you know if you're watching this on YouTube. I guess you could be watching it through our site, which is actually still an embedded YouTube video. So, anyway, you should know the title. You should know my name. But just in case you don't, and you happen upon this somehow, your friend told you about it, which I don't know why they would do that, but, maybe they're not a very good friend. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to it. I got to start the beer quick because I'm drinking a small one, just a regular 12-ouncer today. And, the funny thing is I generally start talking so much that I never actually get to the beer. So this one, I just got a brand new shipment from Tavour, which is the beer ordering delivery app that I've talked about a couple times on here. Always a pretty cool day when that comes in. The mailroom guy had to sign for it, so I had to go down and back my car up to the dock because it's about a 40 or 50 pound box, and I didn't really want to carry that out to my car. So anyway, a lot of New England IPAs in this one. Really cool stuff. I won't get into all of them, although there's one called Juicy Bits by Weldworks that I'm really excited about, and a couple from Bare Bottle, so that's pretty cool. But this one, I wanted to go a little bit on the light side because I'm kind of drying out after the last month. But this is from Rar and Sons Brewing Company. It is a Paleta de Mango. It's mango chili beer with lime. 5% ABV. This is just a 12-ounce can again. And this is in, these guys are out of Fort Worth, Texas. So palate cleansing, juicy and tropical. Flavors of ripe mango, fresh lime peel, and Mexican, what does that say? Pekin? Is it Pekin? Pequin. My Spanish isn't good. Apologize in advance to those of you who are laughing at me and calling me an idiot right now. Yeah, so looks good. Prost, y'all. So it says. But yeah, this looks pretty dope. The one thing, like, I'm a sucker for an aesthetically pleasing bottle or can. And so the good thing of this is I didn't buy them based on that. But several of these that I got today are really, really cool looking. Or at least I think so. But, we'll see how that goes when it's done. I'll set this down for a second because I always take the tabs off because we save them, right? So I have a little container to do that. So let's set that guy down there. But as you can see, pours really super clear. Definitely I did not really chill it down too far. So you are getting some of that CO2 released a little bit more than normal. Maybe if it was colder. Off the top, I don't really get much of that. Am I getting the pepper? I think there's a little bit of that. There's kind of the earthiness from the pepper. Kind of has just a typical ale smell. Nothing to really set it apart, but that's really good. There's the mango. The mango doesn't hit you up front. It's definitely more on the backside, which I kind of dig. I was actually talking to somebody about some of the blueberry beers that are out there, where some of them are like purple, like Wild Blue is one of them. I've seen some other ones where you could tell, like, there's definitely blueberry in here, right? Or the blackberry. My wife likes this blackberry wheat they make over here around us. But there's some other ones that I've had. I think Sam Adams made a really good one at one point. I'm trying to think of what the other one was that I've had. Funk. And who's Duclaw, I believe, makes that one. And it's like a blueberry citrus. But it's more on the back end. Like it's not like, oh, I'm drinking a blueberry beer. It's, oh, this is really refreshing. There's some blueberry there. So this, and now I'm getting, like, the chili is on the back end. I used to homebrew. I don't do as much anymore, and haven't in a long time. It's just timing's kind of wonky. But I made a chocolate chili habanero, or a chocolate chipotle, wasn't habanero, chocolate chipotle ale. That was money. I had to brew it double, re-ferment it with the additional, so I just brewed like a blonde ale, but then added the chocolate to it, and then I had soaked chipotle peppers in, I think I used Jim Beam, and then just added those in there, and by the time it came around, initially it was like really spicy up front, but once it mellowed after a few weeks, really settled in, and it was a really great complex flavor, so I really enjoyed it, but, yeah, that's absolutely one you could just crush all day. The smell is actually a little bit funky, and I can't tell. Like, I don't find the actual smell appealing, which is kind of weird. But that kind of goes, and I think it would actually be better. You know, there's not much head there, unfortunately. No, that's good. Again, I don't know if you've got access to that. But, you know, if you're looking for a summer beer, that one is great. So anyway, let's get into the Cubs stuff, because I know you're not here about beer. And then at the end, I'll tell you some stories about, well, really just like one story that's kind of interesting and relates to beer. Ooh, there's the chili. Yes, definitely on the back of your throat, which is definitely good. I've had some chili beers that get up in your palate too much and are really bothersome. This is just that nice, hey, letting you know that I'm here. You know, like a friendly neighbor, like not the a-hole who comes up and bothers you, but, you know, the guy you're mowing and you kind of wave to and you know he's there. Yeah, that's what this is. So anyway, not much going on with the Cubs. This is Monday that I'm recording this, so it's an off day. But they are coming off of their 8th straight series victory. Haven't done that since 2008. That's right. Didn't do it in 2016. Didn't do it in 2017. Didn't do it in 2015 when they were getting all those wins. And so this is coming off a 2-7 start, right? So now they have the best record in the league, in the division anyway. They have a great run differential. The pitching is phenomenal. John Lester has a 1.16 ERA, leads all of the majors. Although as soon as the Cubs play the Reds tomorrow, that'll go away because you have to have as many innings pitched as your team has games played. He has 38.2. The Cubs have played 38 games. As soon as they get to 39, that goes away. But what's really incredible, right, is how not just the Cubs were written off, and by fans, right? And I know a lot of people are going to, you know, stay quiet. Or I've even had some people, you know, like, well, the season's still young. Okay, pal. Clearly we are seeing that this is a good team. Now, a lot of this is because obviously Javi Baez is doing phenomenal. Willson Contreras doing phenomenal. So I don't want to take anything away from those guys, but I've kind of addressed them a little bit in a couple. I'll come back around to Willson here in just a little bit, but we've talked about Javi a lot. What I want to talk about is, again, relating back to Christopher Lee Bryant, who I talked about in a previous episode, and I think this is now episode 8 or 9. So we'd have to go back a few, and I don't remember which one it was, 5 or 6. But I talked about Bryant's hand path. That's why I looked down here, because there's a plastic sword down here, a toy sword that I had used to demonstrate it. And you could see, so early on, he was swinging through a lot of pitches that he should not have swung through. You're like, how are you missing this? It's just a cutter that didn't cut, just stayed right down the middle of the plate. Couldn't hit it. And so he was just kind of swinging under stuff, missing things, lunging into the ball. And his numbers early were really ugly, right? Batting average was down, only the 1 home run really through the first several games. He was striking out far more often than he was walking. I think at one point, I want to say it was through 60 at-bats. So the first 60 at-bats was, I think, went through maybe the 12th, April 10th or 12th, somewhere in there. Maybe it was the 10th. Whatever the case. He had, 60 at-bats. He had 15 strikeouts, 7 walks. So more than twice as many strikeouts to walks. Now, granted, small sample, but still, you know, it wasn't looking good. And just the 1 home run. In the 110 plate appearances since, so that was in 60, 15 strikeouts, 7 walks. In the 110 since, he's walked 21 times. He's only struck out 14 times, and he's got 7 home runs. His numbers right now, aggregate numbers on the season, his walk rate is higher than in 2016. It's higher than it's ever been. His strikeout rate is lower than it's ever been. His WRC plus, I think he's at 149. He was at 148 in the MVP season, 146 or 7. It was 146 in the MVP. No, damn it, I'll get there. 148 MVP. 147 or 146 in 2017. He's at 149 right now. His WOBA is better. Everything he's doing now, his batting average is lower, but here's the wild part, right? Bryant's numbers across the board, by and large, better than he's ever put up in any season. Okay, and this is after the horrendous start. And his BABIP, which is his batting average on balls in play, is 70 points lower than his career average. He's at like 260, and his career is around 330. Or he's at 270, his career is 340. Whatever it is, it's a 70-point difference. Now, a lot of people don't really understand that, right? And they look at it the wrong way. And basically what it says is, how of the balls you put in play, how many of them land for hits? So, your actual batting average is going to be comprised, right? It's going to take up strikeouts, things like that, right? The balls that are not in play. So this is on balls in play, which again is a measure of generally how well you're striking the ball. How hard are you hitting it? Where are you? Because if you beat the ball into the ground weakly, that's not likely to go for a hit. And so you're going to have a low BABIP. Well, he was doing that a little bit early, right? But what we've seen, even when he started really coming around, the game at the end of April 30th, I believe, in Seattle, 4 balls he hit 105 miles an hour or harder, 1 of them landed for a hit, right? So now you're at a 250 BABIP, right? 1 out of the 4 balls he put in play. All of them had an expected batting average of at least 310, 330. Most of them were like, I think they were at 5, 6, 700 on most of them. So you figure that's going to come around. So what I'm saying is he's got not only an extraordinarily low BABIP by his own standards, but if league average is 300 and he's at 260, 270, whatever it is, he's still 30 to 40 points behind the league average, which tells you that there's a ton of room yet for positive regression. He's only got 1 more strikeout than he does walks. So if we see that continue, and that's where you know he's confident, because early on he was lunging and swinging at pitches that he shouldn't have. He was kind of unsure of himself. We're seeing a confident hitter who knows what he's doing. It took him a while to get adjusted. And what's wonderful is that, people would come in and comment, be it on Twitter, be it on our posts, and talk about how, you're making excuses for him. The only time, you just want to kiss his ass. And, it's like, I can't really fathom, like, why someone would want to watch one of the best players in the game struggling and say, he sucks. I want you to be wrong about him being good. Like, I want to be right about him being bad. Like, that's so unfathomable to me. It's also unfathomable to look at the face of somewhat irrefutable evidence. Like, he is hitting the ball a ton. It's just not, it's being caught, right? And people, like, don't understand. I'm not saying that ball should be dropped or you got to give him a hit for that or he's a moral victory. No, it's just the simple fact that if you hit the shit out of the ball and you hit it a high line drive, that should land for a hit. A ball hit over 100 miles an hour should land for a hit more often than not, and Bryant's were not. So naturally that has to come back around. If you keep flipping heads on the quarter, eventually tails will come up. That's the way it works, and it's going to come up, generally it should be 50-50. So you can pretty much count on that to come back around. Now, does that change? Is he going to stay as hot as he is? No. But, again, and I'm not going to go back and pull receipts on people, but I've got them, I mean, I can go back there and look at I can pull up comments on posts that I've written. But, again, why would I do that? You should feel bad enough for yourself thinking that he was done. And don't even get me started on the whole, I think it's because he got hit in the head by that. But that is... Stop it. As long as you've come out of that, if you are still harboring some sort of belief that him taking a pitch to the head last year impacted his performance in any way, stop it. You can look at his numbers before he got hit and after he got hit. They are clearly much better last year. They were clearly much better last year after he got hit. And they very clearly took a nosedive when he slid headfirst into first base on May 19th against the Reds. Then he also slid into second headfirst, jammed up the shoulder, and that was it. I mean, that's the problem. It was not being hit in the head. Maybe for a couple games because he had to sit out for a while, right? And then he came back, had a rough first 1 or 2 games. Then it was done. That's it. The head getting hit, that was not a thing. That never was a problem, okay? And what we saw this year was a guy who, again, had to struggle through, I don't want to say he was struggling, but he was struggling. Just facing live pitching, big-time pitching, and getting back into that after jacking around with his swing last year, had to regain kind of that eye, and pitchers were pitching him differently. But now he's figured that out, he's attacked them, and he's seen, hey, they're pitching to me in a different manner. They haven't done this before. They're going more outside. They're coming high and in, low and away, kind of doing some different things. They've been trying to beat him previously. They've been trying to beat him in because he's lanky. They didn't think he could get his hands in around on a fastball. He clearly showed he could. And so now he's already hit a couple home runs to the opposite field because they try to beat him away on those. Either trying to beat him high. Now he's spitting on a lot of those pitches. and letting him go that he wasn't. So anyway, that's fun to watch. It's pretty awesome. Willson Contreras, let's talk about that real quick because dude's already got as many home runs. He's hit 10 home runs. That's how many he hit last year. All of last year. He's already got 10, 38 games in. Now, part of the problem with that is he's playing at a higher clip. Whether we look at starts, his percentage of starts, I think, was around 85% right now, and his percentage of games played at catcher is in the 90s. Whereas last year, I think his percentage of starts was like 75%, and his total games played at catcher were like 82. So significantly higher on both fronts. You extrapolate that out, and if you look at it from right now, if he kept at the same pace, which he shouldn't by any means, but he'd be on pace for about 1,250, 1,260 innings caught versus the 1,110 last year that saw him really fade toward the end. And so that's where Victor Caratini, I think, was 3 for 5 tonight. Again, maybe it was last. No, it's tonight. It's today, this afternoon, at AAA. So he's playing for the Iowa Cubs now. He's about ready to come back. And we're only a month out from his hamate bone surgery. So that's really impressive. Taylor Davis has done perfectly well. He's actually caught Darvish fairly well. He hit the grand slam. But obviously he's going to go back down. Vic comes back up. Now you have somebody who can spell Willson that much more. But he is just crushing the ball. And he's having fun, right? We heard him talk about, I wrote about it today. So go on over to Cubs Insider, read about that. But I wrote about that, how looking back to mid-March, he sat down with Kelly Kroll from NBC Sports Chicago and just said, man, I didn't deserve to have a good season. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't keeping up with my cardio and my strength training. And it showed, right? It really did. Like, he kind of felt like, hey, I've made it. I'm good. I don't need to keep up with that. But I think that proved to him last year and how he kind of fell apart that he does need to keep up with that stuff. And so, hold on, let me see. Again, look at this. I got a 12-ouncer. I'm not even going to finish it. But by keeping up with that and by staying strong, he's able to last longer in the season. He's able to be strong throughout that. And he's having fun. Like, that's the part. I mean, if you've ever done anything, I don't care what it is, if it's a laborious task, right? Let's look at that. But you're doing it with your friends, or, I guess I would say people you like, but those would probably be your friends. And it's fun. It goes faster. You're able to do more. You're not as tired afterwards. Or if you are, you feel at least more satisfied by it. Versus if you're by yourself, you're doing it with a bunch of assholes. That's not fun, right? Like, I was in California last week. I went surfing. Never surfed before. Signed up to do this excursion, do some surf lessons, right? Woke up, it was 53 degrees. We're in Southern California. I'm thinking it's supposed to be warm. It was 53 degrees, completely overcast, breezy, and drizzly. And we're going to go surf. 53. I don't know. The water was in the 60s. It was cold. Cold. But there's a group of 8 of us that went. And I knew 6 of us knew each other. The 2 other guys were just hangers-on. In the same overall group, right? The same overall corporate function. But the 6 of us were friends already. And so, we're all just kind of in this together. And we're just like, hey, we feel like the biggest idiots on earth. But we got out there and we did it. And it ended up being super fun. And even though my feet were a little bit numb, we had the wetsuits on and everything. It ended up being like perfectly comfortable out there. It was really wild how that worked out. But again, I don't want to equate my fat ass up there trying to surf to Willson Contreras hitting better over the course of still catching a lot of innings. But the point is that if you're having fun, even things that seem like a menial task, even if it's something like your cardio or whatever, right? And catching 15 innings on one night and then turn around and play in the next game, things that seem kind of tough become much easier. And I think that's showing in his ease at the plate, the way he's been able to hit the ball, getting the walk-off home run. Cubs with 3 walk-off homers in 5 games with Bryant, Hayward, and Contreras. I mean, that kind of stuff is it's far too early to say a team of destiny. The Cubs are a team of destiny based on this. But these are the things that happen to those teams. Even when you have sort of the business-like approach to things and you're just mowing people down, there are things that happen because good teams make good things happen. And good things happen to good teams. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The Cubs prepared, the Cubs have their opportunity, and they're taking advantage of it, right? Sweeping the Cardinals, taking 2 out of 3 from the Brewers. That stuff's huge, and that'll pay dividends down the road. So anyway, I don't want to drag this on too much longer. As you can see, you know what? Hold on. Yeah, as it's getting warmer, like this is definitely one that needs to be chilled a little bit more. I'm all for having. Ooh, that spice definitely comes out as it warms up. The chili that's in there, and maybe just the aggregate force of it, but definitely back there. Again, still really excellent. But anyway, so funny story about drinking beer. So the night before I flew out to California, it's a Sunday night, my wife and I went to a concert. We had planned this months and months ago. So I'd found out, she was mentioning, so her favorite band as a young girl was New Kids on the Block, right? And so, as you may know, they're touring right now. And so I was like, oh God, right? But here's the thing. Joining them on the tour were Tiffany and Debbie Gibson and Naughty by Nature and Salt and Pepper. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go, because I wanted to see Naughty again. Naughty by Nature actually played at Hanover College, my alma mater, my senior year, which was just that was a phenomenal concert. It's great. I was hammered and just right up there on the front, high-fiving guys on the stage. But Salt and Pepper, like how do you miss that? And so I got on, and part of the pre-sale, whatever, and I got floor-level seats, and this months ago, right? And so we've been planning this forever, looking forward to it, and I'm kind of like, oh man, I don't know, is this even going to be any good? Actually ended up being a phenomenal show. Our seats, we had to kind of get guided down there, because it's a little bit weird, right? You're just in folding chairs or out on where the court would be. This is at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, downtown Indianapolis. And, normally the basketball court's there, obviously. And so our seats were roughly at where center court would have been. So they had a main stage on the one side. They had an auxiliary stage on the other side. And there were like 2 blocks. So we'll act like I'm looking at the main stage. And there were 2 blocks right in front that were reserved for the VIP seating, right? And then there's like floor levels, whatever, sections 1 and 2. And then there were like 3 and 4. And so I get F3, and I got the front row of that second section, because it was way cheaper than VIP, but we're still on the floor. Well, it turns out they weren't actually in that section. They were to the side of it, and there was just a set of 4 chairs, comfy folding chairs right there. And so we just had the 2 women to our left, but it was just the 4 of us right there, and the aisleways were right by us, and there's a walkway between us in the section. Well, phenomenal. So the way the concert worked, it was really cool. So it's called the Mixtape Tour, and the way they actually set it up was, rather than have, an opening act and then a set break, and another act and a set break, and another act, a set break. So New Kids come out, and it's like 95% women. There's like 4 dudes in the whole place, right? So it made for a very interesting dynamic of like the cheers. It wasn't this mix. It was like a very much of a higher pitched sound when people were cheering. But anyway, from where we were sitting, we were right up there. They come on and they play for a while, and then like Debbie Gibson comes out and does a couple songs, and Tiffany comes out and does a couple songs, and then New Kids come out and do a song, and then Salt and Pepper comes out and does a couple songs, and Naughty comes out and does a couple, and then so it just kind of kept going back and forth for a couple hours, and it was constant. So they'd have breaks in between their own sets, but they never had to change the scenery. They never changed the stage. They didn't do all this. The lighting was up there. And as they're kind of coming through and singing, they're walking right past us all the time. So I'm going out to buy super expensive. I should have worn my Salt and Pepper shirt. What was I thinking? Oh, but this will kind of come into play in just a second. So guys walk by. My wife's like, high five, whomever it was, Joey and Jordan or something. And so then, like, toward the end of the show, we're sitting there, and they're coming around, and here's Donnie Wahlberg. It's just the weirdest thing. I'm like, this is, 50-year-old man up there singing. But again, it's actually a pretty good show. But he's standing up by the crowd, and like my wife's got a picture of him. I think he was like 3 feet away. He's got this big old cup of beer. He just looks over, sees me, and just hands me the beer. So I'm like, cool. I'll have another one. And the woman next to me is like, give me the beer, bro. And then, glugs down a little bit of it, spills it all over because she wanted to drink Donnie's beer. And I'm like, yeah, this is wild, man. Donnie Wahlberg just gave me a beer. Okay. Which is, my claim to fame. And that was happening. That was the previous Sunday, right? So that was happening like as Kris Bryant hit his walk-off home run. So then I'm like, I missed that, but hey, I got a beer from Donnie Wahlberg, right? So it's cool. But it ended up being a really nice date night. And so, there are times, it's very difficult for me sometimes to unplug from the whole cubbishness and the site. And so it was cool to be able to do that and spend some time with my wife and have fun. I mean, she was just loving the whole time, and I had a great time, screaming at Naughty and all that. So that was cool. And anyway, so the shirt, I got my Wu Wear shirt on, going to see the Wu-Tang Clan in a couple weeks. But there's a great documentary, if you get Showtime, called Wu-Tang Clan of Mics and Men. I don't know how many parts it is. It's at least 2, but I think more than that. I just watched part 1 the other day. Fantastic. It's got the guys together, in advance of their 25th anniversary tour here. But just talking about like how they grew up, how they came together, what was going on in, whether it be Staten Island or Park Hill, somewhere from Brooklyn, the things that were going on at the time around there socially, and not just in the hip hop scene, but like in their lives and what kind of drove them to form this group. And it's incredible. I mean, it resonated so much. So anyway, highly recommend it. Again, Wu-Tang Clan of Mics and Men. Check that out on Showtime. I think I got a couple DVR, probably going to watch one after this. And so cool stuff going on. I hope everybody's having a great time. I always enjoy these little sessions here. I get to kind of either regurgitate stuff that I already wrote about, or maybe talk about things I'm going to write about. I didn't even talk about Carl Ravitch saying that the Cubs really want Addison Russell to be their starting shortstop. Maybe I'll get into that another time. That's just foolishness, and we're already getting too far into this thing. But again, appreciate you hanging out with me here. I know you got better things to do with your time, so I don't know what the hell you're doing here, taking up half an hour of it with me. But, if you get the chance, going over to Cubs Insider, check out some of the stuff we got over there. Huge day on an off day today. So a lot of really cool stuff coming out from a lot of different writers, and just I really appreciate the opportunity that I have to be able to kind of curate that to some extent, and to kind of lord over it with all my editorial power. But no, seriously, really enjoy that, and again, enjoy having you folks come there and reading those things and maybe commenting on them or not. I ran into a guy the other day who just said, "Hey, I'm a big fan. I don't comment, but I just, I'm not on social media doing all that stuff, but I read your work, and I just wanted to let you know that, there's a lot of us out there that aren't really vocal about it, but you're doing good work. Keep it up." And that was a really neat thing, right? Because so much of the stuff that we tend to get is negative in nature, and from people who misread something or just want to argue with you about something for no reason. So to hear those kind words was really cool, and just a neat, something I didn't expect when I was off in I was in Newport Beach, California, and then so I met a guy from St. Louis who's a Cubs fan, and that was just kind of a random thing, and it was really, really cool. So anyway, I'm gonna go finish this. You grab one of your own, and we'll toast to that. But again, thank you very much for joining me on Inside Corner, and we'll see you again next time.